Have you ever felt that invisible thread tugging at your emotional core? The one that makes you scramble when someone you're interested in suddenly goes silent. It's a common affliction. This urge to chase, to fill the void, to prove your worth through relentless pursuit. Most men, in their understandable desire for connection, fall into this very trap. They chase. But let me tell you, as someone who's spent decades observing the subtle dances of power and influence, Machiavelli, the old Florentine, understood something profoundly true about human nature that has been largely forgotten in our modern, often over-emotional landscape. He knew how to turn the opponent's own game against them, not through aggression, but through a calculated, almost surgical indifference. This isn't about being cold or disingenuous. This is about understanding. That true power, the kind that draws people in rather than pushes them away, isn't begged for. It's cultivated through a quiet, almost imperceptible strength, a calculated indifference that makes her silence not an instruction, but an involuntary confession. You see, her silence is rarely accidental. It's a deliberate, often subconscious strategy designed to measure your emotional strength, to see if you will collapse under the weight of her withdrawn attention. Think of it like a subtle pressure test. Do you crumble or do you stand firm? I once had a client, a bright young man named Mark, who was utterly perplexed by a woman who would shower him with attention one day and then vanish for days on end, only to reappear with a casual text. He was, understandably, in agony. He chased. He overanalyzed. He felt like he was losing his mind. I told him, Mark, she's not just ignoring you. She's testing you. She's measuring your emotional resilience, probing for your desperation. And every time you chase, you're confirming her hypothesis. This isn't just about handling a woman. It's about handling yourself. It's about recognizing the game before you're even fully aware you're playing it. Because when you truly master these principles, not just intellectually, but deep in your bones, you don't just avoid losing a woman, you transform her perception of you. You turn her into an admirer, or at the very least, someone who respects your emotional fortitude. Have you ever been there? A woman seems genuinely interested. The conversation flows. There's a spark, and then, without a word, she ghosts you. That sudden, inexplicable silence is a gut punch. But here's the raw truth, stripped bare of all romantic idealism. That silence is not an accident. It is, in almost every instance, a calculated test of your emotional resilience. She's not just busy, she's observing. She's watching to see how desperate you become, how quickly you unravel. When the faucet of her attention is turned off, Machiavelli, in his writings on political warfare, understood that whoever controls the narrative controls the power. He knew that if you could dictate the story, you dictated the outcome. And when a woman ignores you, consciously or unconsciously, she is attempting to write your story for you. The narrative she wants to create is that of a man begging for her attention, a man whose worth is contingent on her validation. Imagine a scene from a spy novel. The agent goes silent, not because they're truly gone, but because they're waiting to see how their target reacts. Do they panic? Do they expose themselves? Or do they remain composed, revealing nothing? It's the same dynamic, but played out in the subtle battlefield of human connection. The goal isn't to be cold, but to be unreadable in the way that matters most, your emotional state. This isn't about winning a prize. It's about winning yourself back now. It's crucial to understand that not all silences are created equal. And this is precisely where most men, bless their hearts, crash and burn. Like a seasoned strategist reading the battlefield, you must recognize the three specific types of silence. To treat them all the same, initially, is a mistake many make. The nuance comes in the reason for the silence. First, there's the test. Silence. This is the classic playing hard to get maneuver. She'll still watch your social media stories, perhaps even liking an old post, but she won't reply to your messages. She might have given you clear signs of interest previously, but now she's pulled back, almost daring you to chase. It's like a general letting the enemy make the first move, not out of weakness, but out of a desire to gauge their opponent's resolve. She wants to see if you'll chase her, proving your desperation, or if you'll hold your ground, showing your self-possession. Is he a pleaser, or a man with his own purpose? She's silently asking. You might feel a pang of anxiety, a need to reach out to reassure yourself. But remember, this is a test. Responding to that anxiety by chasing is precisely the answer. She's looking for, and not in a good way. It confirms her power. Second, we have the processing silence. This one isn't about you at all, and recognizing it is vital for your own peace of mind. She disappears completely. No social media activity, no replies to anyone, not just you. Something significant has happened in her personal life. A family issue, a work crisis, a deep emotional struggle, and she needs mental space. This silence is about her internal battles, her need to retreat and process. Chasing her in this scenario isn't just ineffective. It can be incredibly intrusive and off-putting. Imagine a friend going through a difficult bereavement. Would you badger them for attention? Of course not. You'd give them space. It's the same here. Your ability to discern this type of silence demonstrates a level of maturity and empathy that is far more attractive than any desperate pursuit. It speaks to your emotional intelligence, a quality far too rare. Third, and perhaps the most painful, is the rejection silence. This is characterized by dry, terse responses, constant excuses, and a complete emotional coldness. She has already decided there's no future, but she is hoping you'll get the hint. It's her way of saying no without the direct confrontation, a path many people choose to avoid discomfort. This isn't a test you can pass. It's a closed door. Chasing here is not only futile, but demeaning to yourself. It's like repeatedly knocking on a door that clearly has a do not disturb sign and a deadbolt. The goal here is not to win her back, but to recognize the signal and gracefully, respectfully, withdraw. Now, here comes the master move, the one that separates real men from desperate boys. This is the counterintuitive stroke that makes all the difference. Most men, faced with any of these silences, the sudden withdrawal, the cryptic mood shift with no explanation, they panic. They overanalyze every past conversation, every emoji, every perceived slight. They chase. They believe that if they just find the perfect thing to say, the magic phrase, she'll suddenly come back around. But that's not how true power dynamics work. The master move. You respond the same way to all three types of silence. No emotional scrambling. No desperate attempts to decode her cryptic behavior, to play amateur psychologist. No frantic, ego-driven attempts to fix a mood you didn't even cause. You become a mirror, nothing more, nothing less. If she takes for hours to reply to your message, you take 4 hours, or, dare I say, even longer. This isn't out of pettiness or a childish game of tit for tat. It's out of profound self-respect. It communicates, without a single spoken word, that your time is valuable, your attention is earned, and you are not sitting by the phone, anxiously awaiting her next move. Remember Margaret, the woman who would text my friend John at 2 a.m. and expect an immediate reply, then disappear. 4 days. John, after some coaching, started mirroring her response times, not maliciously, but simply living his life. If she took 24 hours, he took 24 hours. The initial shock for her was palpable. She wasn't used to not being the center of someone's universe. If she cancels plans at the last minute with a vague excuse, you don't argue. You don't try to guilt her or demand an explanation. You simply, calmly, make new plans for yourself, with someone else, perhaps, or alone, pursuing an interest or a passion. But never, ever, do you make those plans from a place of despair or victimhood. This isn't about punishing her. It's about valuing yourself. It's about demonstrating that your happiness and your schedule are not dictated by her whims. Your life continues vibrant and full, with or without her direct involvement. And if she turns cold, if her responses are flat and unenthusiastic, you don't chase warmth. You don't try to inject energy into a flat line. You remain calm, composed, but you also become distant, not aggressive, not angry, but simply further away. You let the silence breathe, and crucially, you breathe deeper yourself. You expand your own world rather than shrinking it to fit into her diminished space. Because here is the cold, beautiful truth. You cannot be manipulated if you simply refuse to play the emotional game. That is the Machiavellian way. You don't fight fire with fire, which only amplifies the blaze. Instead, you remove the oxygen. You start the drama of attention, and it dies quietly, without a grand declaration, without a single explosive confrontation. This tactic works precisely because it shifts the balance of power. Without needing a single word from you, you're not reacting in a predictable way. You're reflecting her actions, not suppressing your emotions, but channeling them into a calculated, strategic response. And the psychological effect is, quite frankly, devastating to her original playbook. She expects pursuit, she expects weakness, she expects to win. But when all she finds is stillness, a man who doesn't flinch, a man whose world doesn't revolve around her withdrawal, her carefully constructed playbook starts falling apart right before her eyes. It forces her to reevaluate her assumptions about your emotional landscape. If this kind of content is opening your eyes to how real power dynamics operate behind modern attraction, and more importantly, behind genuine self-possession, consider what comes next. It won't just teach you how to handle women, it'll teach you how to handle yourself. And that, my friend, is where true power begins. The key, the absolute cornerstone, is understanding this fundamental truth. Her silence is not an instruction, it is information. Every moment she withdraws, every unanswered message, every subtle game of distance is not a directive for you to chase or to beg. It is a confession. She is showing you exactly who she is, how she navigates power, and what she truly values. Think of it like a detective analyzing a crime scene. Every detail, every missing piece, every deliberate omission tells you something crucial about the perpetrator, about the dynamics at play. You wouldn't interpret a lack of evidence as a command to invent it. You'd interpret it as data about the situation. Her silence is data about her. It reveals her character, her insecurities, her preferred methods of control. A woman who repeatedly uses silence as a weapon is revealing a lack of direct communication skills, a reliance on manipulation, and often an underlying fear of vulnerability. She's showing you her strategy, and in doing so, she's giving you the blueprints to disarmament. Do you understand the profound shift in perspective this requires? It's moving from what did I do wrong to what is she revealing about herself. It's not about her control over you. It's about her attempt to control and what that tells you. But here's where most men, even those who grasp the initial concept of mirroring, tragically fail. They think merely noticing the pattern is enough. They assume that by simply mirroring her coldness, by sitting still and silent themselves, they're somehow winning. So they freeze, motionless, hoping that their own indifference will speak louder than hers. This, my friend, is not strategy. This is stagnation. It's passivity, wearing the mask of control, and it's a dangerous deception. Remember Machiavelli. He didn't preach idle waiting. He didn't glorify inaction or passive resistance. He taught that power is movement. He understood that while your enemy hesitates, while they play their petty games, you, the true strategist, should be evolving. While they're focused on control, you should be focused on growth. When she withdraws into her silence, you don't crumble, you build. You don't sit by the phone, agonizing over her next move. You reshape yourself. This isn't about being reactive. It's about being proactive in your own life. Let me tell you about Michael, a young man who was completely hung up on a woman who would disappear for weeks on end, only to pop back into his life with a casual text. He was mirroring her silence, but doing nothing else. He was just waiting. Miserable? I told him, Michael, while she's busy seeing if he'll break, you should be in the gym breaking limits. While she's posting babe for attention, you should be investing your time into mastery, into your business, into your passions. While she's calculating her control, you should be multiplying your options, expanding your world. This isn't about reacting to her or for her. It's about transforming reaction into creation, taking the energy she sends your way, positive or negative, and channeling it into building a more powerful, purposeful you. Because here's the true Machiavellian brilliance, the psychological judo flip that leaves manipulators bewildered when someone withholds love or attention to control you. They inherently expect weakness. They anticipate that you will chase, that you will diminish, that you will shrivel in their absence. But when that silence, that void they created, becomes the backdrop to your glow up, to your profound personal transformation, suddenly, their tactic backfires with spectacular force. Her test becomes your unexpected transformation. Her emotional gain becomes your psychological fuel. This is the power of calculated indifference. But it's not a fake detachment. It's the kind of stillness that hides relentless, purposeful progress. So, the next time she pulls away, don't just match her silence. Outgrow it, outpace it. Let your evolution answer louder than any text message or any dramatic phone call ever could. While she's playing games with your mind, calculating her next move to pull you back, you're out with your friends, actively building a strong, fulfilling social life that doesn't revolve around her. You're working on the business idea, getting into the best shape of your life, learning a new skill. Do you see the pattern here? Every hour she invests in trying to manipulate you, trying to measure your desperation, is an "are you invest" in becoming demonstrably more valuable, more resilient, more self-sufficient. It's not just a passive reaction. It's a calculated, almost aggressive move, a power reversal, a psychological game she never, ever expected you to play, let alone win. This is the law of energy transfer. She is losing energy by focusing on manipulation, by waiting for your collapse. You, meanwhile, are multiplying yours, pouring it into your own growth. She spirals in control fantasies while you spiral upward into discipline, into vision, into unstoppable momentum. This is what most men miss. They try to win her back, not realizing the real victory. The truly lasting win is becoming someone she can no longer play, someone whose worth is so self-evident that her games become utterly irrelevant. But here comes the most powerful psychological twist, the final turn of the screw that secures your position. When you start posting pictures of yourself at the gym, visibly stronger, radiating health and purpose. When you share snippets of your business projects, your passion pursuits, your nights out laughing and genuinely connecting with real friends, something fundamental shifts. In her nervous system, she begins to feel loss, not power. She begins to see that her silence, which was intended to destroy you or bring you crawling back, didn't do that at all. Instead, it launched you. It triggered your innate masculine drive. It forced you to look inward and upward, to cultivate a life independent of her attention. And that, my friend, truly scares her. Because now, you're not reacting to her. You're evolving without her. This triggers what psychologists call loss aversion. Her brain starts calculating. Wait a minute. This man was supposed to chase me, to beg, to prove I mattered. But he's doing better without me. He's glowing up. He's harder to reach now. What if I pushed him right into the arms of someone better? Someone who actually appreciates his newfound strength. The trap she set for you backfires spectacularly. She thought her silence would bring you crawling, confirm her power. Instead, it activated your potential, accelerating your growth. She assumed your worth depended entirely on her attention, her validation. But now, she's seeing the raw, unvarnished truth. Your growth never needed her applause, her approval, or her presence. And that realization, that undeniable proof of your self-sufficiency, hits harder than any response you could have given, harder than any argument or plea. Real indifference, you see, is not passive. It's intensely focused. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about genuinely having more important things to do, more significant ambitions to chase, higher standards to raise, and a deeper peace to protect. She is no longer the gravitational center of your universe. She is, at best, a chapter in a much larger, more compelling book, your book. I've seen this work time and time again in countless scenarios. I remember a friend, a perpetually anxious fellow named David, who was constantly tormented by a woman who'd give him the silent treatment whenever she felt he wasn't sufficiently attentive. After some tough conversations, David decided to apply this strategy. He didn't argue, didn't analyze, didn't send panic texts asking, "What's wrong?" He responded with life. He signed up for cooking classes he'd always put off, dedicated himself to launching a small side business he was passionate about, trained rigorously with a coach, and got into the best physical shape of his life. 3 weeks later, almost to the day, she reappeared, not with a casual text, but with a long, almost apologetic paragraph, explanations, excuses, guilt subtly wrapped in charm. "Hey, sorry I've been so distant. Things got crazy on my end. Would love to catch up sometime." She had bet on his collapse, on his frantic pursuit. Instead, she watched him rise, flourish, and become undeniably more attractive. And that, as you can imagine, changed everything. Because now, the question in her mind wasn't, "Does he still want me?" It had fundamentally shifted to, "Would he even choose me now?" That, my friend, is how power flips.